Today I'm going to show you how to make these chocolate cherry fondants with a oozy chocolate center. Okay, so we're going to start by making our chocolate fondant mix. It's super easy. So in here I've just got some melted butter. You can melt it in the microwave, but I don't have one at home. I'm just gonna whisk in your chocolate. I'm probably gonna give you a different chocolate that has a slightly different flavor for this. It is better if you use dark chocolate. It just depends what I can get my hands on for you guys. This is what I've got at home. So, just gonna whisk this in until the chocolate's fully melted. And then we're going to whisk our eggs, flour and sugar together. Once this is nice and smooth and there's no lumps anywhere. Like I said, you can just melt your butter in the microwave and pour it over. Okay, so I've got my eggs, my flour and my sugar. Take that in and whisk it around. So it's nice and smooth. And then we're going to add in our chocolate butter mixture. So this dessert you can serve just by itself. You don't even need to put the cream and the cherries and stuff on top, but we're making it a bit fancy. But yeah, this by itself, with sometimes I serve it with like a bit of sour cream or creme fraiche just to cut through the richness, is super delicious. And like I said, I'm going to try get you guys a dark chocolate, which will give this an even deeper chocolatey flavor and a darker color. So, going to grab my nice new muffin tin, treated myself. Spray it with some spray oil. Oh gosh, I always get it everywhere. You can also just oil it with a brush and some oil or a paper towel, or butter it. But you just want something to help them come out. And then I like to use a piping bag, but you can just spoon it in if you prefer. And you can use the mix straight away, or you can chill it down. It keeps for about a week in the fridge. So these are quite rich, so I don't want them to be too big. You should get at least 9, I think. Just over 10. Perfect. And then my oven is preheated to 190 degrees, fan bake. I'm going to put them in for maximum 9 minutes. Normally I check them after 6 minutes. I'm going to show you what that looks like, because we want these to still be a little bit gooey and liquid in the center, because that's what makes them so incredibly delicious. Alright, I'll show you that when it's done. Okay, so these were in the oven for 5 minutes. And basically what I look for is that there's still liquid in the middle. So like if I press in, it actually still completely gooey, but set around the edges. So I'll actually bring it up a bit closer for you to see, because they are going to continue to cook slightly. So you see still liquidy, but set around the edges. We're going to leave them to cool in there for at least 10 minutes, and that will set the insides a bit, and they'll start to come away from the edges, which some of them are starting to do. So yeah, what I will do is, so it's a minimum of 10 minutes, but you can leave it for longer than that. If you spray them properly, they're not going to stick on there. So yeah, I'm going to let them cool completely before I take them out, and then I will show you how to ice them and finish them. Yeah, exciting. I might actually, take one out. If I can find a palette knife. So you can see what they look like, because if you are serving them by themselves, you want to serve them warm, so you want to leave them for a few minutes, like I said, to solidify slightly, just so you can get them out. I'm going to use a palette knife just to get around the edges of this one, and then, no, they need a bit longer. Alright, I'll show you later. I won't risk it. Okay. Alright, so these have been resting for a few minutes. I'm going to try take one out without breaking it. If you were doing these in muffin tins and you wanted to serve them warm, what I would possibly recommend doing is taking a sheet of baking paper. I'll cut that awfully. Like that. And cutting a thin strip. And then putting it in like that after you spray it, and then you can just lift them out. You could probably just do that anyway, but I didn't, and now here we are. So, we feel alright. I reckon, oh no, not quite ready. Let's try this one, which I almost got out earlier. I am also super impatient. So there we go. And then the inside is beautiful and gooey like that. If you're struggling to get them out, you could give them another like 30 seconds in the oven, 30 seconds to a minute. They bake super quickly because they're so small. But that's what they'll look like when they're warm. We want them to firm up slightly when they're cooler, and then you'll still have that gooiness, but it will be a bit thicker, almost like a ganache kind of filling. Alright, so I'm going to let these cool completely and firm up a bit, and then we will carry on. Bye. So I'm going to cook this over a medium heat until it thickens up basically. So I'm just going to bring it to a boil. Once it starts boiling, I'm going to stop filming because otherwise it fogs up the camera lens, and then I will show you what it's looked like when it's done. You don't need to stir it constantly, I just don't know what to do with myself otherwise. And you can, I'm doing this on induction just so I can film it more easily for you guys, because it's a bit hard to film when my hob is at home, but obviously you can do it on any cooktop. And again, you can, these are frozen cherries, or you can use anything. You can use boysenberries, you can use strawberries, you can use blueberries, you can not do it at all. You can replace the chocolate whipped ganache with some buttercream and make the cakes vanilla, and yeah, there's endless possibilities as always. I just love a bit of Black Forest Gâteau. Alright, so I'm going to keep stirring this and I will be back very shortly. Alright, so I've just finished cooking these. That was no more than 5 minutes. Once they started to boil, I stirred it constantly as the syrup starts to thicken. You can see the cherries have started to break down. Let me bring it a bit closer, go a bit wrinkly and kind of release their juices. And the liquid has gone nice and thick to kind of coat them. I did also mean to say that if you don't want to make the compote, you could make these cakes and use like a tinned plums or tinned cherries or amarena cherries or something like that. These are frozen sour cherries because I like the tartness, but you can use just normal frozen cherries or fresh cherries when they're in season. So I'm going to let that cool down and I will show you what the cakes look like when they're ready, which will just be a few more minutes. Alright, bye. Okay, so in here we have some creme fraiche, some icing sugar and some vanilla beans. And I'm just going to whisk it together till it forms stiff peaks to go on top of our fondant. If you wanted to make it more Black Foresty, you could add a touch of kirsch either in here or in the cherry compote. Or those are the only two places. You could add it in either of those. I was going to say you could brush it over the fondant, but because of the texture of the fondant, it won't really absorb it. So yeah. yeah, I'm gonna whisk this because you don't need to watch me whisking cream. It's not that interesting. And then I will be back. Okay, so my creme fraiche is nicely whipped. So I'm gonna put that to the side and take out my little fondants that have had a bit more time to set. So now they pretty easily, just making sure you can see that, lift up. So like I said earlier, I will try and get you dark chocolate for this. It just depends if my wholesale supplier has any. I'm just not sure. They still taste delicious with milk chocolate. So if I do get you milk chocolate, if you do only get milk chocolate, they're still really nice. But if you want to swap it out for dark, you can. Obviously, I can't go to the supermarket and just buy up all of the dark chocolate bars because that would be very rude. And would definitely make me look like a panic buyer. Alright, this one I'm not sure about because I tried to take it out earlier and it broke, so I might have been, no. That one was not meant to be, aka I will eat it later. Alright, put this so you can see it nicely. So they are quite nice and thin and small because like I said, they are super rich. I'm going to take my creme fraiche and put it in a piping bag. And then just going to pipe a little dollop. Remember, like I said, these are quite small, so you don't want to put too much cream. Doesn't matter how the cream looks, they don't have to be perfect little blobs. And I'm going to grab a spoon, just make a little well in the center for my cherries to sit. Just try and make sure there's a bit of a moat, I guess, border the whole way around, to encase your cherries if they're particularly liquidy. Alright, going to take my cherries, just kind of drain them off slightly. If yours are more liquidy, you can also just dry them on a little paper towel if you're worried about juices flowing everywhere. But it does look nice if there's a bit of juice coming out. There we go. And then have some freeze-dried cherries. In summer, you could use some fresh cherries on top of these as well. I'm just gonna, oops, that was a bit much. I just want a little bit around the edges. Gives a really nice burst of that cherry flavor. You don't need that much. That was only two cherries that did all of those. Then some rose petals from my garden. Make sure if you're using flowers you've grown yourself that they are edible flowers. You can use Google to help you out. Give them a wash or a little inspection. Make sure there's no bugs flying around there. You can buy some flowers at Mawson's. I don't know how easy they are to get at the moment. It is winter and also lockdown, so the world is working against us for some of the finer things in life, like flowers for our cakes. But they will be just as delicious if you don't have flowers. And then I have my dying thyme plant. I'm going to put a few leaves for a bit of colour, and the thyme flavour will go really well with cherry because it's quite a deep, earthy flavour. Really should have watered this, huh? Gosh, I can't even get that. There we go. And there we are. So as I always say, you can be pretty creative with this. You don't have to use cherry. You could do any berry that goes well with chocolate, any fruit that goes well with chocolate. You could do some poached pear on there, whatever you like. And we are finished. Ta-da! Alright, gonna try cut one open and see what it's like inside. So I just tried this before and I completely missed filming it. You can see that oozy chocolate center, delicious cherry topping, absolutely delicious.